Have you ever heard of a basketball team so feared and hated that even their opponents hesitated to step onto the court? A team that redefined the meaning of aggressive defense and created an identity that is still remembered with fear today? Get ready to learn about the story of the Bad Boys Pistons, the most relentless and controversial team in NBA history. Today, we will dive deep into the legend of this team that won titles and left an indelible mark on global basketball. In the world of sports, there are teams that stand out for their talent, technical skill, and sportsmanship. But the Detroit Pistons of the 80s, known as the Bad Boys, do not fit this common description. They were much more than just a team. They were a force of nature that shook the foundations of the NBA with a style of play that was as brutal as it was effective. Under the leadership of Chuck Daly and led by players like Isiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, and Dennis Rodman, the Pistons didn't just win games. They intimidated, provoked, and often annihilated their opponents. What makes this team so fascinating is the way they embraced the role of NBA villains, using intimidation tactics and tireless defense that few teams could face. Today, we will explore how the Pistons built this reputation, from their humiliating defeats to the peak of their glory, winning championships and turning basketball into a true physical and psychological battle. The story of the Bad Boys Pistons doesn't begin at the top, but rather in a place of deep failure and humiliation. Before becoming a dominant force in the NBA, the Detroit Pistons were a team that, throughout the 1960s and 1970s, had a loyal fan base but struggled with a lack of success on the court. Talented players like George Arley, Bailey Howell, Bobby Lanier, and Dave Bing were part of the roster, but the team couldn't establish itself as a true league powerhouse. Year after year, the Pistons stumbled in the playoffs, often falling to teams considered inferior. The early 1980s were particularly cruel. The team faced a series of defeats that culminated in a disastrous record during the 1979-80 season, with 66 losses. This number was not only embarrassing but also established the Detroit Pistons as one of the worst teams in the NBA at that time. The team's reputation was in tatters, and the move to the Silverdome, a massive stadium with a capacity of 82,000 people, only made things worse. Located in the suburb of Pontiac, the new stadium further alienated fans, who feared for their safety due to the high crime rate in the area. As a result, the Pistons became the team with the lowest average attendance in the league, with fewer than 5,000 spectators at regular season games. The situation was desperate, and many believed the franchise was on the verge of collapse. The city of Detroit, which had already suffered from the crisis in the automotive industry, now saw its main basketball team sinking into a sea of losses and disappointments. Disillusioned fans stopped attending games, and the Silverdome, with its desolate vastness, became a symbol of the team's downfall. The media spared no criticism, and the team's morale was at rock bottom. The players, lacking confidence, seemed condemned to eternal mediocrity. However, the tide began to turn in 1981, with the arrival of Isiah Thomas. Drafted as the second overall pick, Thomas brought with him not only incredible skills but also a winning mentality. He was a natural leader, capable of inspiring those around him and elevating the level of play of his teammates. His tenacity and determination to win were palpable, and his arrival was like a spark that ignited a flame of hope in a drifting franchise. But the transformation was not immediate. Thomas's early years with the team were marked by difficulties as he tried, with his young leadership, to reverse the losing mentality that had long been entrenched in the Pistons. Internal conflicts, lack of cohesion, and resistance to change hindered progress, but Thomas was undeterred. He knew that rebuilding would be a gradual process that would require patience and resilience. In addition to Thomas, other key pieces began to join the puzzle. Joe Dumars, an exceptional defender and future Finals MVP, was drafted in 1985. Bill Laimbeer, a tough and feared center, was acquired in a trade. To these pieces were added Vinnie Johnson, the microwave, for his ability to heat up the game quickly, and Dennis Rodman, who brought energy and relentless defense. Over time, the team began to develop a new identity, one that reflected the city of Detroit. Hardworking, resilient, and unafraid to face challenges head-on. This new formation, with Isiah Thomas as its undisputed leader, began to show signs of life. The us against the world mentality that developed within the Pistons locker room started to reflect on the court. They played with an intensity and aggression that few NBA teams could match. Slowly but surely, the Pistons began to change the narrative surrounding them. From a defeated and humiliated team, they transformed into a group of warriors, ready to face any opponent and leave their mark on NBA history. Thus, what was once seen as one of the worst teams in the league began to transform into what would come to be known as the Bad Boys Pistons, a team that would redefine the idea of aggressive defense and team spirit in the NBA. The rise was just beginning, and the world of basketball would soon witness the birth of one of the most memorable and feared dynasties in history. With Isiah Thomas at the helm, the Detroit Pistons began their transformation from a discredited team to an emerging power in the NBA. Although Thomas initially had reservations about playing for the Pistons, his impact on the team was immediate and undeniable. The franchise, which had finished the previous season with only 21 wins, climbed to an impressive 39 wins in Thomas's rookie season. He quickly established himself as the team's undisputed leader, averaging 17 points and 8 assists per game, showing that the Pistons finally had a star around whom they could build their future. Thomas's arrival marked a turning point, but the real building of the Bad Boys Pistons was a process involving strategic decisions both on the bench and on the court. Another crucial moment in this building process was the acquisition of Bill Laimbeer in 1982. Laimbeer, a center who did not stand out statistically while playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers, caught the attention of general manager Jack McCloskey for his determination and grit on the court. Although not a player with spectacular numbers, Laimbeer played each game with a fierce intensity that would soon become synonymous with the Bad Boys. His arrival at the Pistons was a turning point. With Laimbeer and Thomas, the team began to show signs of life, with Laimbeer doubling his averages to 12.8 points and 11.3 rebounds per game. His physical presence and rebounding ability became central elements in the Pistons' new identity. The friendship and partnership both on and off the court between Thomas and Laimbeer were crucial for the team's chemistry and cohesion. They both shared a relentless work ethic and a disregard for the established norms of the NBA, leading them to adopt a physical and aggressive playing style that would later define the Bad Boys era. They were unwilling to play by the rules that favored more talented teams. Instead, they were determined to create their own rules on the court. But this aggression was not just a reflection of frustration or a rebellious attitude. It was part of a larger strategy, meticulously crafted by coach Chuck Daly, who was hired in 1983. Chuck Daly, a coach with a deep vision and a unique understanding of the nuances of basketball, was the maestro who knew how to channel the energy and aggression of his players, shaping a team that not only played basketball but waged real battles on the court. Daly realized that the key to transforming the Pistons into a winning team was not just technical skills, but adopting a guerrilla mentality. He promoted a defense-first philosophy, where every possession was treated as a battle, and every player was obligated to defend with everything they had. Under his leadership, the Pistons' playing style began to evolve into a smothering and relentless defense that combined Daly's tactical intelligence with the ferocity of players like Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn. Mahorn, who joined the team in 1985, was another crucial piece in this puzzle. Known for his dominant physical presence and his ability to instill respect and fear in opponents, Mahorn quickly became one of the team's defensive pillars. His ability to use his body to block, intimidate, and frustrate opponents in the paint complemented Laimbeer's tough playing style perfectly. Together, they formed a duo that was unafraid to challenge any opponent, no matter how talented. Mahorn's presence alongside Laimbeer solidified the Pistons' reputation as the toughest team in the league, a team that did not hesitate to use physical tactics to destabilize their opponents and dominate games. As new players joined the roster, such as Joe Dumars, an exceptional defender and future Finals MVP, and Dennis Rodman, known for his tireless energy and extraordinary defensive skills, the Pistons began to take shape as a force to be reckoned with. They were no longer seen as just a physical team. They were a strategically constructed team aimed at winning, using defense as their primary weapon. Each player understood their role and contributed to the collective success, resulting in a cohesive team that embodied the us against the world mentality. Under the leadership of Thomas and Daly, the Pistons transitioned from a rebuilding team to an emerging dynasty, shaping a new era in the NBA. The Bad Boys not only challenged the norms of the league, but also established a new standard for how defense and collective mentality could be the keys to success. This was just the beginning of the Bad Boys' journey, a journey that would take them to the top of the NBA and cement their place in basketball history. The apex of the Bad Boys Pistons came in the 1988-89 and 1989-90 seasons, when the team finally achieved the long-desired goal of winning the NBA championship. However, this achievement was not easy. It was the result of years of hard-fought battles, both physical and mental, that defined and solidified the Bad Boys legend in basketball history. In the previous years, the Pistons faced formidable and powerful opponents, such as the Boston Celtics and the Chicago Bulls, in playoff series that tested the team's limits in every aspect. The confrontation with the Celtics in the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals marked a turning point in the Bad Boys' journey. The series, which was decided in 7 games, is remembered not only for the intensity and rivalry between the two teams, but also for how much the Pistons had to overcome adversities. In Game 5, with the series tied 2-2, the Pistons were just 5 seconds away from securing the win that would put them ahead in the series. However, a devastating mistake by Isiah Thomas, who passed the ball directly to Larry Bird, resulted in a spectacular turnaround by the Celtics, who not only won the game but eventually the series, leaving the Pistons with a bitter sense of defeat and a valuable lesson. Despite this devastating loss, the Pistons returned the following season with renewed determination and even greater ferocity. The defense, already known for its relentlessness, was further enhanced by coach Chuck Daly with the introduction of the full-court press, a strategy involving total pressure on opponents at all times, from the moment they inbound the ball until the end of the possession. This approach not only reflected the Bad Boys' mentality of never giving an inch, but also elevated them to a new level of defensive excellence. Each player knew that the team's success depended on impenetrable collective defense, and this strategy was crucial in leading them to their first NBA Finals in 1988. Although they lost to the Los Angeles Lakers in an epic 7-game series, the defeat only fueled the competitive fire within the Pistons even more. The frustration of coming so close and failing to capture the title drove them to return the following season even more determined. In the 1988-89 season, the Pistons were on a mission. They dominated the league with their suffocating defense and physical style of play, culminating in a perfect revenge against the Lakers in the finals. This time, there was no need for 7 games. The Pistons swept the Lakers in 4 decisive games, winning their first NBA title and establishing themselves as the new kings of basketball. But the story of the Bad Boys didn't end there. The following season, they proved that the title was not a fluke, but rather the result of a team that had found its identity and perfected it to perfection. In 1990, the Pistons faced the Portland Trail Blazers in the NBA Finals. With the confidence and experience accumulated from previous seasons, they defeated the Trail Blazers in 5 games, solidifying their place in history as one of the toughest and most successful teams of all time. The Pistons' back-to-back championships were not just a crowning achievement of hard work, but also a celebration of the playing style they embodied, a style that challenged NBA norms, valuing defense, teamwork, and resilience above all else. The legacy of the Bad Boys Pistons goes beyond trophies and victories. They redefined what it meant to be a champion in the NBA, showing that with the right mindset and a well-executed strategy, even a team that started at the bottom can rise to the top of the world. They proved that success doesn't come from individual talent alone, but from cohesion, mental toughness, and the will to fight until the last second. The impact of the Bad Boys reverberated throughout the league, influencing a generation of players and forever changing the landscape of professional basketball. These glorious years, filled with intense rivalries, hard-fought games, and hard-earned victories, were the foundation upon which the Pistons built their legend. And though time has passed, the memory of those golden years of the Bad Boys Pistons remains alive, inspiring fans, players, and all who appreciate greatness in the sport. The story of the Bad Boys Pistons is one of the most fascinating in NBA history. They were not just a winning team. They were a cultural phenomenon that redefined what it means to be a competitor in the league. With a combination of talent, tenacity, and above all, an unwavering will to win, The Pistons of the 80s proved that basketball is much more than just technical skill. It is a psychological war, where mental resilience and the ability to impose your game are as important as scoring points. Although their approach generated controversy and criticism, there is no denying the lasting impact the Bad Boys Pistons had on the NBA. They paved the way for a new type of basketball, where defense is as valued as offense, and where intimidation and physical toughness can be as effective as accuracy and speed. Looking back, it is impossible not to admire the courage and determination of this team that, against all odds, rose from the ashes of failure to become an immortal legend of the sport. If you enjoyed this journey through the history of the Bad Boys Pistons, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss any episodes, and let us know in the comments what was the most memorable moment for you from this legendary team. We want to hear your thoughts. See you in the next video.